good.
How's it going?
Caved into bed. It was great.
You caved into bed.
Yeah. So, morning, y'all. How are y'all doing? Welcome to the Worship Hangover.
Yeah, that's
Question mark?
I'm not supposed to call it the Monday morning Worship Hangover anymore. It doesn't. It rolls off my tongue so naturally.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, which, I mean, the technical, I mean, you created this, so whatever. But
yeah.
But like the Monday morning Worship Hangover feels right. But I think it's technically just the Worship Hangover.
Okay.
All right. I don't know.
Sure.
That's what our title is. So.
I don't really care.
So, but man, does it feel like Monday today?
Yes.
Yeah, it kind of does.
It does.
You guys let us know in the comments if you're just having.
How's your Monday?
Yeah, how's your Monday? Might be great.
Yeah.
I know here, if you're watching from maybe overseas or something.
Yeah.
Then it might not be stinking hot, but it's really hot here.
Yeah.
The humidity, and someone from our life group told me that the heat index was up to, or not heat index, the UV index is 11.
I don't even know what that means.
Me either, but 11, it's pretty hot.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like Spinal Tap.
I think
high.
8 is dangerous.
Okay.
So 11 is not great.
So he was saying that you could get like a sunburn in like 10 minutes.
So the fact that I've started using daily face sunscreen's probably good today.
Yeah, it's a good time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's really going to pay
That's
off
great.
today.
Yeah.
If you go outside, don't go outside.
Try
It's
not
hot
to go
out there,
outside, man.
I cleaned my gutters this morning. It was really hot up there.
I will say
Man.
I'm going to have to mow my grass today. Like it's going to have to happen, but I'll do it this evening when it's cooling off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it over the weekend, and I did it before I left for camp with Lucas, and then it was. I didn't finish all of it because I was like, I'm going to be too wiped if I try to do all of it. And so then Rachel jumped in and did the rest of it, and so that was awesome. So,
woo! He's going to be too wiped. Look at him.
Too wiped.
So,
yeah, but no, everything going good with you guys in general?
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any events yesterday? Any fun things? I mean, my life group had a cookout. That was kind of fun.
I mean, we had life group, which is we actually. I mean, we took sort of like a slowdown for the summer rather than a break from life group, and so we had our like first time in a while, and it was good. We had some pulled pork, which was good.
I think we're trying to do like a thing a month-ish.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
You know, and so not officially, but not unofficially.
Oh, ours is official.
If we would have just like canceled it weekly, we would have canceled the last month anyways.
Yeah,
because there was stuff happening on Sundays, just like crazy. So, but I think did we meet on Mother's Day? I think maybe we did. Oh no, we didn't. I think our life group.
I think we did not meet on Mother's Day.
I don't remember meeting on Mother's Day.
Yeah, I don't think we did actually. But I feel like I remember being okay with maybe meeting, but then we ended up not. So, but yeah, no, we sent I sent my kid off to camp by himself for the first time.
It's awesome,
and it was good. Like our youngest Riley just cried afterwards.
Oh really?
Yeah,
that's
she was
funny.
like, I want Bubba.
I'm gonna miss my Bubba.
Yeah,
yeah.
And she calls him Bubba, but she has two brothers, but the other one is not Bubba. He's Lukey. So we got Bubba and we got Lukey.
That's funny.
So yeah, she was pretty upset, but it's okay. Yeah. It's good. It's good for when those things happen. It's good for everybody because it builds that resilience in her, and then him. I don't think he was sad.
Yeah,
he was getting to go hang out with friends and
for sure
and get some autonomy. So
yeah, for sure.
So it's good. But that was the first time for me, and just I'm processing a little bit of that, like letting go, and I think that's a good thing too. So
it's a skill.
Yeah. Oh man,
we have 2 down there this
trait.
week. So
yeah.
So the only guy at home with us this week is Justice. So.
Yeah.
Yep. It is.
So what's he doing? Is he like just hanging out right now, or
I think
because everybody else is working?
I think today he's hanging out with his grandparents, helping at their house.
Cool.
And stuff. So I think that's his plan for today. I'm not sure what tomorrow looks like for him. And then we're still. So I have a nephew that's going in the guard, and so I'm planning to go up for his swearing in on Wednesday, and Jay might go with me to that. But he also has coffee or like morning. What is that? Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Thank you. He's also got breakfast clubs.
Coffee morning.
Yeah, whatever. That's
that's what today's coffee morning.
So we're trying to decide if he's going to go with me or if he's going to stick around and go to Breakfast Club.
Do you wear a suit to that? Is that type of event? Or
no, I'll probably dress about like I dress on a Sunday.
Okay.
I would say.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Cool. It just feels like it could be a thing that everybody's like suited up for.
Yeah, I'm sure military people will be suited up for it.
But in their military.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
suit.
yeah, right. In their uniform.
In their uniform.
But yeah, I'll probably just try to dress like nice.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Like not shorts and a t-shirt, but
not like I'm dressed on Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but that'll be
cool.
good. All right, guys. Well, so yesterday we talked about fairness. It wasn't fair.
Yeah, have you ever been to the fair?
I have been to a fair. Funnel cakes are top notch.
I always think I'm gonna love a funnel cake.
Yeah.
I've loved them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I always think I'm gonna love one, and I get one, and I eat like 2 or 3 bites, and I'm like, I don't want.
Oh
this.
man, I love them. Love
every
them.
time.
Yeah.
I'm
Even
like, but it sounds so good.
Yeah.
This year I'm gonna finish it. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want this.
Now, to be fair,
it's hot.
I buy one and share it with all my kids, so I probably also get like 2 or 3 bites.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's always been me and Kaylin sharing it, and then she doesn't want much of it either. So we're
Yeah.
just like, well, all right, we have half a funnel cake now.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get like the giant corn dogs? I don't know if they have them here at our county fair, but
Do not.
So we have at we go to the what's the Versailles pumpkin or not Versailles the pumpkin thing that's it's near
Sedalia?
Ashland. It's near Ashland,
Okay.
whatever that little town is on
Okay.
the right there.
okay.
But we go there and often we'll get a corn dog because it's like an all day thing.
Do they like smother it in mustard?
If you want them to,
Okay, because
that's how God intended corn dogs to be.
I love mustard on a corn dog, and man, I would definitely be a part of that.
Yeah,
So corn dogs and funnel cakes.
very pro mustard over here.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Like almost unhealthily.
I might have 3 forms of mustard in my refrigerator.
Diverse. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Mustard is a gift. So.
Yes. God knew what he was doing with that one.
Yeah. When he created mustard.
That's right.
And he mixed those
Mustard's
things.
growing on me, but I still have my reservations. You guys know my story, right?
Yeah.
At camp, I had to gargle mustard.
Oh,
as a thing.
yeah.
I was like, I don't know, 10.
Yeah.
So that ruined it for me for a long time. But I'm coming around on it.
I was going to say, have you tried it since and been like,
Yeah, it's okay. I definitely don't ever want it. I'm not like, oh, yes, mustard on my corn
Yeah.
dog, please.
Yeah.
But if it's already there, I'm like, yeah, I can eat
I guess I'll eat this, yeah.
Hey, Jude, Riley, and Lucas. Sorry, they said
There they
hi.
are.
Oh,
Hello.
I must have the wrong page pulled up.
Wow. Way to
Wow.
go.
Down base.
I was on top of
Oh,
it
there
for
we
you.
go.
Yeah,
Cool.
and Kaylin doesn't
Thank
like
you.
mustard either. So I use
Oh,
it when I'm
that's-
smoking meat.
I was going to say, do you use it as binder?
I use it as a binding agent, but she always is like, I have to go in the other room.
You can
hates it.
also, just FYI, you can use a thin layer of mayonnaise as a binding agent because it's just oil.
I feel about the same way about mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise is disgusting.
So-
I'm with you there.
Yeah, but I'm happy with mustard. I think
love mayonnaise as
whatever
well.
it does to the meat is
Yeah.
good. I'm happy with it. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
The smell doesn't make me want to gag anymore. So it's
Yeah, Kaylin says,
come around.
we are an anti-mustard household. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Mayonnaise is fine in little quantities, but
Sure.
it's very quickly like, oh, that's too much mayonnaise.
You know, I think I use it more to like stave off the dry sandwich. Like, I don't like just a really dry.
But
like,
mustard was right there.
I use both.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So, yeah.
I'm also a Miracle Whip guy. If I have to use something mayonnaise-y, I'm going to go for the light Miracle Whip. That's my move.
I can't do the Miracle Whip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't like the greasiness.
I'm
of
going to embrace
mayonnaise.
this tangent and just say I love horseradish too.
Oh,
You guys
yeah.
do you like
Oh,
horseradish?
I'm trying to think when I've had horseradish. I think I've had it mixed in to make a sauce. Like it's a
Yeah.
ingredient of a sauce that
Or
I
like
like.
is it cocktail
Cocktail sauce? Oh,
Yeah.
man, that thing.
Yeah.
It's a
So-
delight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but man, my mom used to buy just the jar of,
Yeah.
I think it was just horseradish by itself.
Yeah,
and she would
yeah.
mix it up with something.
My parents used to make their own.
Oh wow.
Because we grew it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it.
It's a root.
Okay.
And so they would grow it and then they would grind it and the house would like have that aroma.
Okay.
Like it was like
you
brutal.
could
Pretty
like you
strong
could walk.
aroma.
It was brutal in there for about a day.
And like if you if you eat sushi, the wasabi
Wasabi's
is
very-
basically horseradish. I don't think it's actual wasabi.
Okay.
Very horseradishy. Yeah.
And so like that tingling that you get is that feeling, and I
Yeah.
always love that. So I'll put that on. Sometimes I'll sub it for mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Because then if you have mayonnaise and mustard, but it's like spicy mayonnaise,
Yeah.
you got horseradish. So
There you go.
You can disagree with me in the comments there.
Yeah. No.
So
Alpha makes fun of me
Yeah.
because I love condiments in general. So like I have an inordinate amount of condiments all the time.
I was never a condiment person. I would
Yeah.
everything as a kid. I would eat plain.
Yeah.
I would ask for my burger plain, hot dog plain.
Yeah.
Everything. There was nothing to dip. Nothing. There was nothing. And then in high school, I discovered barbecue sauce.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that's really good.
Nectar of the gods.
School barbecue sauce is like weirdly good.
Yeah, McDonald's barbecue sauce, it's so good.
Yeah, so that came in. And then at the end of high school, I learned about ranch and wings. And so we worked next to B-Dubs. They'd give us free wings a lot. And so I had it there. And then after graduating college at my first ministry, I learned about ketchup.
Okay.
Learned about ketchup at 24 years old.
Yeah.
So that's been my kind of experience. You heard the mustard story already.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, you don't know.
Condiments for me have just been kind of like a wash. And still, I'm okay with them now. But I'm still just like, I'm never really reaching for them unless it's ranch or barbecue sauce.
Yeah, see, and I'm like, ranch is not my favorite thing. Like, it's one of the, to me, it's like I'll mix it with things to make it better. Like barbecue sauce and ranch on a salad isn't bad. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
Yeah, so have you made your own ranch before?
I haven't, but I do like really good like house-made ranch. Yeah.
But it's hard to get that at home, and so if you just have your
Hidden Valley just doesn't do it.
Yeah. And Rachel really likes it, so that's like our house staple. Like we'll always have a bottle of that, but it's just because the house-made ranch goes
That's Caitlin's
bad.
go-to as well.
But like on a salad, I'd rather have a vinaigrette or something like that.
But the house-made, I'm there for that almost every day of the week. So
for sure, or blue cheese, which is the best dressing.
Ooh, man.
I don't know if I've had blue
objectively.
cheese.
I gotta break out of a box and try that at some point.
It's so good
again. But I almost just want to like try someone else's, so I don't have to commit to the whole salad.
It's like ranch though. You got to go to the place that makes it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Okay.
Like, because it's hard to get that from a store.
Yeah.
Unless you buy it in the refrigerator section for like way too much money per jar.
Oh yeah, and then you're okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you guys know if I try that, but
Yeah.
I'm guessing that I'm gonna need some
encouragement
and working up.
It'll
to it.
take some taunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And maybe $5.
Back to fairness though, because we do need to talk about this, right?
How did we get off of fairness? We started there.
Well, I said fair, and he got us onto fair food, and then that took us down the condiment road.
Our title is fair is for corn dogs and funnel cakes.
He didn't want clickbait, so he had to take us.
I had to prevent you from getting clickbait.
Yeah,
so you got your money's worth now. So
this guy and his clickbait.
Yeah,
everything here on is like bonus and free.
There you go.
So
we were talking about fairness yesterday, and the fact that life isn't fair, which I think everybody knows, but we want it to be.
Yeah, it never can be actually fair.
Yeah.
It's always either you're getting more than you should or it's not fair and you're getting less than you should, it never breaks even. I was thinking about that this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, and I stole this. So I don't love everything Andy Stanley says or stands for necessarily, but I did steal this line from him, and I've used it against my kids their entire lives, which is fairness ended in Eden.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's the last time that life was fair.
That is pretty good.
Yeah, but that's just the reality. Like life it's not fair, but that doesn't mean that God's not good. And that's just how we have to live. Like we have to realize that, come to that realization.
That comment is almost like making sense out of like why people suffer. And I think there's a book called Making Sense Out of Suffering. So cool. But essentially like when people say, why would this thing happen to such a good person or whatever, and resetting and saying, well, we've all sinned, and so inherently we aren't good. We don't start from the starting place of good, and so bad things don't happen to necessarily good people. They happen to sinful people who are kind of at odds with the starting place of like striving to be perfect. And so ever since that moment, I think that's helped me work through some of that. Like, well, life isn't fair, but man, we also sin against the creator of the universe. And so we start off from a place of imbalance. And so every good thing that comes from God, it should be counted as a blessing. Yeah. Because, it's something that we could deserve something much worse. And so,
yeah. And I think it goes back to, honestly, like the reason that life isn't fair, and I think you hit on it there, but the place I would point to, like in the Bible, is if you go back to Genesis just before the flood, right? Like just before we meet Noah, like God looks at the earth and he realizes that the inclination of man's heart is only evil all the time. Yeah. And I think that's why life isn't fair. Life isn't fair because humans are unjust. And so it's nearly impossible to find a fair reality. And it's funny because sometimes I think we try to create that, especially as parents. We try to create that if you have more than one kid.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to spend the same amount of money on you and you and you for Christmas. And you're going to get 7 blue M&Ms and you're going to get 7 blue M&Ms. You know what I mean? Like, and like count out the colors.
And you're going to get, we only have 6 left. Okay, give me all the blue M&Ms. We're going to do brown.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you work really hard to make it fair.
Yeah, this illusion that things are somehow fair, and then our kids get a little bit bigger and they realize, wait a minute, like, that's not fair. I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and now that you've set them up for this presupposition that things should be fair, we feel that hardcore because like just the age of the kids.
Yeah.
Which you can't, unless you have triplets, you can't have them all the same age. But just the age, requires that one of them does something before the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's always hard for a second child. Like, I'm a second child.
Yeah.
You kind of said that yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
You poked a little bit
at the middle child.
At the middle child.
Yeah.
So I'm a second child, which makes me kind of a middle child.
Yeah.
And I was a middle child for a while before I was a co-middle child.
Yeah.
And we had my youngest brother. And so, but yeah, just the age alone, like, makes it kind of unfair.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fighting battle too, because we would get the same clothes.
Yeah.
And it was like, sometimes you liked that, sometimes you hated it.
Yeah.
And so how do your parents, find a win out of that, buying the same clothes? Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. And, so, but yeah, we're set up for unfairness.
Yeah. And that's just how things go. So, like, have you guys wrestled with this yourselves? Like, have you wrestled with this unfairness thing, or have you, or if someone like comes to you and they're like, this isn't fair, like, where do you guys usually lean on? Man. Do you have anything?
Yeah. So I've been talking to someone recently who's been struggling with this specific thing, just the idea of God being just and constant and loving, but also all the pictures we see in the Old Testament of things that don't look just or loving.
Yeah.
And so he's been really wrestling with that. And we've been talking through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the first place that I pointed him to was Job.
Yeah.
Because that was really where his struggle started. He's like, God does not look like the hero of this story in the book of Job. I was like, well, yeah, that's kind of like, the idea is not that there's a hero and a villain. The idea is that just things happen and sometimes you don't get an answer, and that is the way life works. And it's hard to. I think part of the approach that I try to take is just recontextualizing, at least from a biblical perspective, of this doesn't look fair in the Bible. This passage doesn't look fair. This thing doesn't look just, or whatever. Oh, it's trying to reframe the Bible as kind of it's not a guidebook for you to look like, well, here's how I'm supposed to behave in this situation, or here's what my life is supposed to look like specifically. I should follow these 3 steps, and then things will feel fair to me.
Yeah.
It's much more like a narrative about God working with broken people, and the way that weaves through history, and that story being told by humans inspired by God, but by humans who are recounting events from a perspective, And so that's a lot of what we've been talking about over the last couple of months, is just recognizing that there is so much more going on in these stories that we're not privy to. And what we are given is telling us something, and it's telling the original readers something, and it's telling us something, and there's a whole lot of layers to it. And so just recognizing that, like Job, we will not have all the answers. Things won't line up cleanly for all of us.
Yep.
And well, that's the reason. So now the unfairness makes more sense, and I can see how it actually was fair all along, and whatever.
Yeah.
And just recognizing that there's so much unknowns that we have to, at some point, if we're going to engage with Scripture, we have to be like, okay, I trust you, God.
Well, and I think too, so you can come at the Bible, you can come at God in general and say, because one of the ways we describe him is just.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you are just, why do all of the men, women, and children have to die?
Yeah.
Okay. That's that's a thing in the Old Testament for sure. Yeah. Why does that have to happen? Why is it such a big deal that King Saul let Amalek live? You know what I mean? Why, why is, if God is just, why is that a thing?
Yeah.
But I think that what that misses is the context, maybe the maturity to be able to say, God is just, but he is working with and through broken, fallen people.
Yeah.
And so sometimes some of the things that happen as a result of that brokenness, because God has chosen not to restore yet.
Yeah.
And that's what's so hard about the conversation.
Yeah.
Is the flip side of that is, well, God could have so easily just said this.
He sure could have.
He sure could have just easily done this. And that for me would have cleaned everything up. And I'm like, yeah, man, that would have been really nice.
Yeah.
I too wish that had happened, because from my perspective, that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But then like Job, I have to be like, but I don't have the whole picture.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that was not the way that God chose to operate in that moment.
It's that justice isn't always the perception for us of fairness.
Yeah.
And I think that's a hard thing to figure out in your mind.
Yeah.
And like, I think we're called to sit in at all times some level of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Because life is uncertain, and we can't, like, because we don't know everything.
Yeah.
Like that leads some uncertainty and brings it into the picture. And so, but then there are times of life where like uncertainty is abundant, and that's hard to sometimes trust God in the midst.
I've been reading. I just finished actually yesterday. I haven't posted my review of it yet because I'm usually like a week behind on my review posts, but or at least a few days. But I just finished reading the book Mother Emanuel, which is about. Do you guys remember 2016 that Emanuel AME Church in it was in South Carolina, it was a Wednesday night and a shooter came in and he attacked the church because it was a black church, like that was. Yeah, and so and he was like a white supremacist, and so he was looking for a church where there would be like no white people that he could go in and kill them all. Like that was what was happening. Yeah. And so it was like a horrible story. However, what's really interesting is in the aftermath of that, and the forgiveness that some of the people like really had towards him, and some of the ministry that was able to happen. There's some taintedness too, but in some of the ministry that was able to happen, one of the things that they said was like his goal was to spread this message of white supremacy. And what he actually spread was the message of the love of the church, like the love of Christ.
Yeah.
And so you could look at that and you could say, well, it's not fair that happened. Yeah. And it's not, like, really it's not fair. And God could have stepped in. He could have stopped that from happening. He absolutely could have. But the story that's been told out of that, like the opportunity for that, like the pilgrimage to that place by all of these people to figure out why these people would be so forgiving. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He didn't stop it. And it's just one of those things we have to wrestle with, I think, sometimes, and come to terms with sometimes, that there's a story out there that's so much bigger than me, or that my brain can comprehend.
Yeah.
And we have to live in that reality.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think a lot of your conversation yesterday felt like it was directed more at the internal personal struggle with justice.
Yeah.
Not so much the global justice or injustice or things like that, although it's all related.
Yeah.
But it felt like it was much more personal.
Yeah.
Like your journey with your life feeling just.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, where it's tagged on to what you were talking about earlier, Zach, it's the idea that like I start off on the wrong foot. And so when I'm seeking justice, I deserve this good thing. Why don't I get this good thing or whatever? This is a weird place to go, maybe. I don't know if it's like I wouldn't just be like, here's what you should think about yourself, but this is what I do.
Yeah.
Is I remember that I don't, in all honesty, in reality, I don't deserve the good thing that I think I deserve. I deserve worse than I'm actually getting.
Yeah.
And my life, the life that I have lived and the sin that I have experienced and just like lived in deserves so much worse than all of the blessings that I currently have in my life. And this is coming from someone whose suffering has been pretty minimal, like overall. So I'm not, I don't want to put myself in your place, watcher, but at the same time, I can recognize the depth of my own brokenness and depravity and know that I deserve far worse than the worst things that I have.
Yeah.
And so all of the things that I'm not getting that I think I should, like in the good, on the good side, are man, that would be gravy, but I don't really deserve any of those good things. I deserve the worst things that would be counter to the good thing. Truly deserves so little, if anything, that it's easier for me, I think, to not fall into a woe was me, my life is so unfair, and I know where that comes from because I have lived in that before for sure. But I think that like pulling myself back to no, but in reality, like I am a sinner, broken, in need of a savior. I haven't done anything to deserve the good things that God is giving me now, and so if He's not giving me this thing, that's okay. I don't deserve it anyway. You know what I mean?
And also look at all of the things that you have that other people would look at and be like, man, that is not fair. Like that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think that we lose sight of that this whole conversation. Because like I can be really upset because this thing I wanted didn't come to fruition.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, like my life's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like if you compare where like my life's experience to so many others.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like it is totally unfair.
Yeah.
In my favor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
And sometimes I think we lose sight of that whenever something doesn't go our way.
Yeah.
And part of that's emotion. I mean, you know that. Like it's natural to mourn losses.
Yeah.
And when I say losses, I don't just mean like loss of life. I mean like any loss. It's natural
losing
to
anything.
Yeah, it's natural to mourn a loss. But to keep that loss in perspective, I think is really, really critical.
Yeah.
I find us like just thinking about, I don't know, fairness, I think is tied to thankfulness in a lot of ways.
Sure.
And so like, I don't know that we've totally done this intentionally, but like, it's just easy to thank God in our prayers for the things that we have.
Yeah.
And the things that like, I believe that He has, indirectly or directly provided for us. And so like I find us at home with our kids praying a lot for like, thank you for the things that we have, because I know there's somebody out there who is homeless, and right now they're sitting at probably under something to try to stay out of the number 11 unit UV index, and so I think that that's a helpful thing to them specifically, because it seems like a lot of, this is an overgeneralization, but a lot people have identified that some people are entitled or all those things, and I think maybe just understanding that like, oh man, look at all these things that we have, and we just need to thank God for them, kind of combats that entitled.
Yeah, gratitude definitely combats that.
And I don't want my kids to be someone that they're like, man, they're just entitled, like they've had it easy their whole life, and so they're just entitled, but rather to be in humility, a thankful person, and I think that they'll see that life isn't fair in the other direction than we normally think, if they do that. That hasn't been something that we've been strategic on necessarily, but just something that, like, as I think about the place that I started as, a kid, and the stuff that we have now, like we live in the nicest house that I've ever lived in.
Yeah.
And so I know that, and I don't know that I lose sight of that, because sometimes you're like, man, I just lose sight of that all the time. I don't know that I lose sight of that. I just look at even just like the baseboards in my house, and like breaking it down to the simple like pieces, and like my baseboards are nicer than my baseboards when I was growing up, and I don't know. It's just I have to be thankful, because I can't not. I know where I was and where I am today, and I'm thankful to God because of that. So I know that it's not fair, but I don't think it's fair in the one way.
So I had this conversation with Ezra the other day, and I think I've told you guys about it, but I don't think I've mentioned it on here. But we near our house, there's a trailer park, and there's like the mobile homes are actually really, really nice in it. Like, you know what I mean? But there's still mobile homes, and Ezra notices the difference between like our neighborhood and the mobile home park. So he said something about it, and I'm like, dude, your mom and I, like, our first house was a mobile home. Like that's where we started, and you might live in one someday, and he's like, I won't ever live in one because you're too nice. And I was like, no, I love you, but I'm not too nice to like that. I won't, or I'm not so nice that I won't let you struggle. You know, and I don't think it's unfair to allow him to struggle. I don't think that that's unfair as a parent. In fact, I actually think it's kind of a blessing to him. Like Alpha and I are really appreciative of the season of our lives that we dug through couch cushions looking for change to go buy ramen noodles, because we are so blessed now. You know what I mean? Like we know that if we have to go back there, our marriage, our relationship, we will be fine. Like we'll make it through that. And I don't think that there's anything cruel about that, but he might feel like in that moment, man, that's not fair. You know what I mean? But I know what he gets when he grows out of it. You know, and it's better.
There was a moment when like I wasn't managing my money well. And I was in college, or maybe I had gotten out of college, but I remember having, I think I had like $400 or something. And it was like and I had to pay rent, and I realized in the moment, like if I don't do something different than what I'm doing now, I will not be able to pay my portion of like this house payment for, like there were three other guys with me in a house, like paying for that as a group, and I was like, I won't be able to pay this. And so that was the moment that like shifted for me, but realizing, luckily I didn't, you know, go totally out of money, but I like changed in that moment and changed what I was doing and worked it out. But I don't know that I would have learned that lesson had I not been on the edge of being out of money. So but it's crazy.
And so I think, again, it's just another picture of like our fairness thing is skewed because we don't always have the perspective, you know, and maybe sometimes what we feel is unfairness is just a little bit of our childlikeness on display, or childishness on display. You know, not that we can't ever be sad or mourn or wish for other outcomes, but man, we shouldn't live there. And it shouldn't lead us to a place where we're like, man, God, if you really loved me, you know, like that gets really dangerous. Because maybe you're there because he really loves you, and you need to learn from it.
At the end of Jonah's sitting in the, if you haven't ever read Jonah, you should go read it and be a little confused, but then try to figure it out. But he ends up like sitting under this tree or some type of plant that's shading him from the sun, which is maybe apt for today's atmosphere outside. But like he's just upset at the unfairness of God. That God would offer, you know, grace when it's not deserved, and grace and mercy when, you know, both are, that it would be more fair for him to just demolish and destroy. And then, you know, God ends up like destroying the tree that he's sitting under and reveals him to the sun. And it's just a weird picture and a weird story, but at the same time just shows, like, he's like, did you create this tree? Did you make make this people, when he's talking about Nineveh? And I just think that's a good example of like maybe our hard-heartedness sometimes of saying things aren't fair. But then he's like, but whose world is this? Like, and who are you? Like, you're being shaded by my tree. And so I think that's a weird picture, but I think that should lead us to thankfulness rather than bitterness. And he was bitter, man.
Absolutely. So life is fair. God is always faithful.
That's
the way it goes. All right, y'all. We need to go.
All right. It is. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope that this conversation maybe started something in your mind. If you haven't watched the sermon, go to capitalwest.church and check out our message from yesterday. So, all right. See you guys later.
See you next time.